man, right here in the corner, the one with his hands covering his face, that's my dad, James, and he's from Nottingham, England. And yes, he is crying. But no, this isn't something that happens all the time. This was probably about the second time I had seen it in my life. So you're probably wondering, okay, well then why? What's the big deal? Simple. Football. Our familial club, Nottingham Forest Football Club, had just been promoted back to the top flight of English football for the first time in 23 years, which, yes, is longer than I have been alive. And this is the world-famous City Ground, the home of our beloved Forest. This is not just a club, this is not just a sport, and this is definitely not a franchise. This is the supporters' lives, and they're going to tell you just what this club means to them and about the experiences that have shaped how they feel about the club. But first, you've got to learn a little bit about our city, our county, Nottingham of Nottinghamshire. In the East Midlands of England, about 120 miles northwest of London, lies Nottingham. It's known as the Rebel City, home to Robin Hood and Maid Marian, who you know the story of. It's full of hard-working families and about 800,000 people who have always prided themselves in their work, whether that be in the city or outside in the Greater Shire, the towns, the villages.
The people of Nottingham, the working classes, what did they do with their time? Well, most of the time they were working. They had to work to survive. But when they had a little bit of time, what did they do with it? They played sport. They wanted to enjoy their lives. They wanted to run around on grass and have fun.
So they had to establish the sports teams. Notts is known for its sports, from cricket and ice hockey to rugby and football. Forest is one of 2 professional football clubs in Notts, and their stadiums are located within a 5-minute walk from each other, which is interesting considering the Shire expands over 800 square miles. The other club being Notts County, and together they are 2 of the oldest professional football clubs in the world. Forest specifically, and its journey began in 1865.
So what we do know is 15 men got together at the Clinton Arms, which is now the Playwright on Shakespeare Street in Nottingham. And they were a group of shinny players. So shinny is it's a Scottish sport predominantly, I believe. It's like a rough form of hockey. And it was pretty brutal sport.
And from that was born not just a football club, but a way of life. The club has won 11 major trophies, which actually that's a number that changes depending on who you ask. It's weird. And that's including 2 European Cups back to back, which, let me tell you, simply put, that is not an easy thing to do.
I always hesitate when I say this because I think if you're not a Forest fan or if you're not a football fan, then it might sound a tad dramatic, but I call it my church, it's my religion. It's the first thing I think of when I get up in the morning. It's probably the last thing I think of when I go to bed, whether that's searching on social media or looking at certain sport websites or whatever that is. Am I up to date with the latest news? And that relationship is probably unhealthy for a man of my age to be so into a football club and what it stands for and what it means to me.
Who controls and lofts it over the goalkeeper. What a goal that is!
It's more than just 11v11 and a ball on a field. It's the relationship with my dad. It goes back years. It's where I've met a lot of my friends. It's just a huge part of my life, and it's more than just a hobby. It's more than just a football club. It's part of my identity, I think it's fair to say.
This was the first game I went to as a paying child, I suppose. It was only 12 pence. My friend asked me to go, and I was like, I've always been a Forest fan, but I never sort of went to any games. And he asked me if I wanted to go. I thought, yeah, I'll go. I can't remember the score, but we were losing and we ended up winning, and it was great. Absolutely brilliant. I loved it. I loved the atmosphere, everything about it, and that was it. I was hooked. I couldn't stop. I went to every game after that.
I've just had a tattoo recently, actually, and it's a tattoo that was from Forza Garibaldi, and it was called From One Generation to the Next. And it's a picture or a painting of a guy walking over Trent Bridge with his daughter on his shoulders, looking towards the Trent end. When I first ever saw that from Forza Garibaldi, all I could envisage was me bringing my daughter over Trent Bridge. And even as today, just coming here, I've been here hundreds of times, You just come over Trent Bridge and you still get that same feeling, that butterflies in your stomach. There's no game on. You know, I'm not scared of being sat here with you, but just coming over that Trent Bridge and just seeing Trent End again, incredible.
In Notts, people's lives literally, not figuratively, literally revolve around this club. They schedule when they see people, where they work, where they go to university around football. And no, that is not an exaggeration. Forest supporter Simon Bristow has tried to capture the relationship between the club and the fans with his camera in a project called Our Glorious Banners.
I don't think there's anything like in life that compares to going to a football match and the emotions that we go through, the highs and the lows, and then just this general, you've got 30,000 people in this stadium on a match day. Would we know each other in normal life? But we're just kind of brought together through this shared love and passion and excitement of Forest. And it creates this amazing community, and that I've been honoured at times to capture it and get photos of people in that moment of great joy and sometimes great despair, and the hugging of random strangers. And you know, people contact me after they've appeared in one of my photos, and I've had 2 or 3 messages off people. It's like, I've never seen myself celebrate a goal, and you've allowed me to see that, and it's amazing. So that getting that kind of feedback, it's incredible. Because I think, as I say, football fandom in general is this amazing culture. There's nothing that compares to it in life, where we go off around the country on these great trips. With people that we don't always know particularly well, and we have these great experiences with them. And then looking at a kind of the microcosm of Forest fan culture, I think we're a special group, and you know, the last couple of years have really shown that kind of unity and togetherness, and in this stadium in particular, the way that kind of the atmosphere that we've created. I think there's something quite special about being a Forest fan, not just a football fan.
The love for this club runs so deep. It creates an atmosphere at the City Ground that so many say is unlike any other in England.
You can see the City Ground behind me now, and one thing no one can accuse us of having is a soulless bowl. This is an atmospheric ground, it's a loud ground, it's a ground in which atmosphere is generated quite easily. I think in recent years, the displays that the fan groups like Forza have brought to the fore have embarrassed far longer established, far so-called bigger clubs in the Premier League, to the point where now this is a place where opposition teams don't particularly enjoy being. We make a lot of noise for our side. It's been an incredibly supportive atmosphere over the past couple of years.
And what is usually the case is those people that are claiming to have the best atmosphere support clubs that are doing well. Because guess what? When you win, people sing and enjoy themselves and sing louder. What I think makes Forest a little bit different to all of those other examples I could give was last year when we were in the Premier League, we weren't doing well. We were down the bottom. We were in the relegation zone for a lot of that season. We were losing lots of games. The atmosphere was incredible.
Yeah, I think having the character of the City Ground, you know, a bit like Nottingham and Nottingham Forest, it's a little bit rough around the edges, but we don't mind that the seats aren't the most comfortable or the flashiest, because when you're jumping out of them because a goal's scored, it's the last thing you're thinking about. So I think retaining that character is so important, and it's part of what keeps us who we are.
But for me in particular, I just remember one thing. I can remember I used to move from the left-hand side of the centre circle, and I would pick the ball up on the left-hand side and I would run with the ball a lot. So a lot of strikers play a lot further up the pitch. I used to come deep and I could hear the rattle of seats. And Forest fans will tell you, because of the way that I played, that often I'll get the ball and the whole stadium would stand up. So for me, that's my Nottingham Forest, that's my City Ground. The clatter of seats as people stood up as I got the ball.
We are so lucky to not only have a unique stadium, but Forest also has its own song, which is not really a common thing in English football. It's a rendition of the well-known Mull of Kintyre, and it goes a little something like this. City Ground, just kidding, I don't sing. Take a listen.
Mull of Kintyre regularly, and I hesitate saying this, but it's important you know that I regularly cry at Mull of Kintyre when I look around and see all the scarves and think, we are all here for the same reason. That's crazy. And I always think about getting my phone out and recording it, even though it's the same every Saturday. And I think, no, just watch it with your eyes, because it's really special, Mull of Kintyre. And I think the media knows that now, and I think other fans know that now.
Yeah, it's just a war cry. I think it's when it starts, and then I think there's a bit where it cuts out, and it's just Forest fans singing, and it's like the only time in the ground where all four sides are singing at the same time, and it's all in tune, and then the U-Reds at the end.
It's sung right at the start of every match, both home and away. And it's not just home matches that are special. Forest fans travel near and far, even all the way to London, which, I'll be honest, for Americans is not really that far of a distance. But they went all the way to London for a promotion playoff final at England's historic Wembley Stadium.
And it was one of the most magical days of my life. And it was me, my dad, my older brother, some of her friends. My niece turned 18, she came. There was 10 or 12 of us in the box. I will never forget that weekend, that day, that night, but also the 20 odd years that came before it. I'm just so glad my dad got to go as well. Unfortunately, he passed away last year. That was the last time we got to go to Wembley. But for many, many years, he obviously funded my season tickets and season cards. So it was good to organise that for him one last time. And yeah, it's like that says, emotional thinking back on it. Very emotional.
Wembley was crazy. If I just touch on Wembley for a moment, we were down for the weekend. Came out of Brunswick Square to walk towards St Pancras, and I went, "Hi Mark." Within 2 minutes I'd seen somebody from Nottingham who was already in town. He was absolutely still cut from the night before. We went into St Pancras, because we were going to get the underground up to Wembley. We sat having some food, and the trains were coming in from Nottingham, and you could just hear this cacophony of noise from all the Forest fans. Like, this is just incredible. You know, and then to get on the underground with all the Forest fans and to go to the game, I don't know, you can't buy it. But when the final whistle, I looked at my daughter, and my daughter's got tears in her eyes, and I thought, that's magic of it. And we was right up in the gods in Wembley, and that's really high and steep. And I just remember looking at her face and thinking, yeah, you get it, you understand it.
Following promotion, just like fans did after winning both European Cups, everyone gathered in the city to celebrate in an area called Market Square.
On the Monday, there was in Market Square in the council house that big celebration, and all Forest fans were there to celebrate, and that was just like one of the best things ever. But it is a very special community. I would say we're the best fan base in the country, because we've been through thick and thin, have we, Forest? You know, it's not like if anyone calls us a glory supporter, they're lying. As much as I'd love to pretend we're the best team in the world, we haven't been for a while, and now we're feeling some glory. And it's just so special, the loyalty that fans have. We back Forest through and through.
You know, I'd heard stories of after the European Cups, like filling out the square, Market Square, and I always thought I'd love to be a Forest fan in the Market Square. I can't actually believe it had ever happened. And as soon as that final whistle went at Wembley, that was my first thought. Not when are we going to play Man United or anything like that. It was, I can't wait to get into the Market Square and celebrate.
The deep love that the fans have for Forest is passed down through generations, just like it has been in my family, where everybody supports Forest. Even the people like my auntie Danuta and cousins Chris and Paul that marry in, everyone is a Forest fan.
It seems dramatic to be so emotional over it, but my dad is my best mate because of the memories we have here. But seeing my dad celebrate with my little boy when we lost the game away at West Ham this season, 3-2. But when Alanga scored, my dad was holding my son Kobe, and Kobe was in his baby Forest kit, and my dad held him up and said, we scored, and he giggled, and it is the best memory I've got. and he has no idea. He has no idea what he's watching. He has no idea. But he won't be a Forest fan because of millions of pounds of revenue or worldwide acclaim or success in the Premier League, although I hope that follows. But he'll be a Forest fan, I hope, because of everything this club stands for and what it means to me and what it means to the relationship with my dad. So to have 3 generations of people supporting this club and making memories as well.
It runs in my blood, basically. Supporting Forest was never a choice. It was just something that I was brought up in my family. We supported Forest. Saturdays revolve around football, whether it's coming along to the matches or watching on TV or listening on the radio. It's just what we do. It's probably 80% of our family group chat is about Forest and football and what's going on. And yeah, it's just been something that's always been a part of me.
So my daughter, she had real bad mental health. If you've got a child that's in the middle of a mental health crisis, it's very tough. And it was football that got her through it, should I say? And that sounds dead basic, but without football, she wouldn't have got through that situation that she was in. Football meant so much to her. So even though she couldn't get to school, and she couldn't get up, there's all these issues, she would still go to football training on a Tuesday night. She would still go to training at Eastwood where the Forest ladies were training on a Thursday night. She would still go there. That was as if it was her constant in her life. So it's not just football. There's a lot more added into it as well. Without football, I don't know where she would have been.
Yeah.
That's why I sort of tell the story. I don't know if she'd have got through it. 95% she's right now. So I think without this, I don't know where I'd be with her. That's just truth. So.
Well, the past 20 some odd years have been a little difficult for this club, even seeing them drop into the 3rd tier of English football called League One for a few seasons. We are a massive club. We are big because of our accomplishments in both England and beyond in Europe. And one thing that has not changed throughout the massive success and the not so massive success has been the supporters, has been the passion of these fans. Nottingham Forest truly are magic, both on the pitch with the players and off through the supporters.